Just how exactly are undecideds and independents going to impact the election, and what are Democrats and Republicans doing to try to change some minds out there? Something that obviously at the tail end of the Democratic National Convention here in Chicago is going to be an interesting focus, especially with news yesterday that it's possible Robert Kennedy Jr. Could drop out of the race as an independent candidate and back Donald Trump. That news is starting to splash all over the place. What kind of impact will that have? We'll ask some of the party leaders here on the ground about that a little bit later on today. And we'll also hear with some of the conversations I had with people yesterday of what they feel is attracting some of those undecideds. But yesterday I had a chance to sit down with Illinois House Speaker Chris Welch, and we talked about a variety of things, including that idea of how to attract undecideds to their side. But also I wanted to kind of feel him out for how he feels Chicago is playing a role in national politics, how Illinois is playing a role in national politics.
Yeah, actually, Chicago and Illinois, we are known for making history. Big things happen in our country as part of the American story by going through Chicago. I mean, we've elected Barack Obama, the first black president. We're going to elect Kamala Harris, the first woman to be president. This is big. This is historic. And to know that the road went through Chicago in Illinois is very important.
And he also talked about the history that's made, not just with Barack Obama, but even he himself. He's the first black speaker for the Illinois State House. And he says that's significant. And it also is something that is happening across the country in other states. And he says that's something the Democratic Party has to uphold. House Speaker Chris Welch, the first black House Speaker in state House history for the state of Illinois. Just if you could compare that to what we're seeing happen here this week in Chicago.
Well, I got to tell you, it's still special. I'm in year 4 now, and it's just as special as it was in year 1. I'm here with 6 other black speakers. There's 4 men, 3 women, 7 in total. We're all first in our state's history, and it's the first time we've all been in one place. Tonight we're going to gather for a demonstration of black excellence in blue and show the rest of the country that there's 7 of us, because if they see it, they can believe it, and if they believe it, they can achieve it too. And so feeling really good about that.
So obviously there's a lot of history there to be made, and Welch highlighting that. But we also talked about the types of policies to attract undecideds, and what are those policies that Democrats are really pushing for, from economic issues to cultural issues and beyond.
Well, when you think about Chicago, and when you think about the state of Illinois in total, the policies that we've passed on the statewide level, I think is the reason why the Democratic National Convention is even here. Illinois, our legislature looks like America. Our state, our population looks like America. The policies we're passing is because of that diversity that we have in our state. And pick a group, any group, their issues are reflected in the things that we're doing here in Illinois. So what better place to demonstrate what our values are as a party than right here in Chicago? And I think we're doing a great job of showing that off.
So Illinois, he says, reflects the United States. He also says that the policies that Illinois has advanced being policies that he says will really help drive the Democratic Party across the country. But again, those undecided voters, how do you attract those? We've, of course, got November just around the corner. A lot of undecideds. A lot of people seeing the past 6-7 weeks trying to make sense of it, right? How do you think voters will approach November, especially those undecideds? What are they looking for?
Well, I think, especially independents and undecideds, those are folks that are waiting to learn all of the facts. They're doing their homework. They're researching the candidates. And I think we're doing a very good job here at the convention. You're going to see it for the next 2 nights of making our case to the American people of why they should choose Vice President Harris and Governor Walz to be the next president and vice president of the United States, because they know that voters are going to do their homework, and we're trying to make it easy for them.
And a lot of the questions of policy, I don't know if people have had that made clear to them. We've heard a lot about abortion, we've heard a lot about Project 2025. We've also heard a lot of condemnation of Republican presidential candidates Donald Trump. For months, you've had even Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker say that Trump is a liar, Trump is a racist, he's a misogynist, and so on. And that's something else we've heard from other Democrats on the stage in Chicago for the convention. I asked Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul about this yesterday, and in particular, if it's fair to criticize somebody who half the country supports based off of policy differences, if it's fair to criticize them, calling them racists and misogynist and a whole bunch of other negative words.
I don't believe that we're characterizing half the country. I am characterizing their candidate, Donald Trump, as a misogynist and a racist. There's a difference. I think he's hijacked the Republican Party. And I have Republicans who are friends. I'm a Democrat. I've been a loyal Democrat for years, but I've worked with Republicans, but not Republicans like Donald Trump. I know plenty of Republicans who are for Kamala Harris because their party has been hijacked. So I don't think anybody up here is characterizing every Republican in the nation. There are Republican union members. Nobody up here is characterizing those individuals as misogynists and racist. But this is a race primarily between two candidates, and that individual, unquestionably, I'm speaking for myself, I'm characterizing him as a misogynist and racist based on the words that came directly out of his mouth.
And earlier in the week, I was able to connect with a Republican State House candidate, Frederick Walz, and he shared some of the thoughts and how he's approaching people in his community as a black man in Chicago, how he addresses those thoughts from people on the streets, his neighbors, and they say, "Oh, Trump's a racist." How does he react to that? Here's Frederick Walz.
Well, a lot of you have some older people that that may say, "Well, he's racist," and I say, "Well, just prove it," and then they can't prove it. So then I educate them on Donald Trump. I say, "Well, do you personally know him, and what has he personally done to you?" And they can't say anything. I said, so all you know about him is what the media have showed you. So then I showed them media clips of like when for instance, when Jesse Jackson was running for president, he helped Jesse Jackson out. You know what I'm saying? He was never what the media is portraying him to be. And so, they have their different opinions, but you just have to educate them. And then I educate them on just being a conservative, a Republican. The Republican Party was founded to abolish slavery. Everything about the Republican Party was helping black people. In fact, Lyndon Johnson takes credit for the Civil Rights Act, but the Republican Party was in Congress. They had a two-thirds vote to push through a Democrat Senate filibuster. So it was actually the Republicans were always looking out for the black community, but a lot of people are just not educated. The only reason that black people really vote for the Democrats is because when Kennedy was in jail, someone in his family called King's wife, and when they got him out of jail, that was the Mickey in the drink. That was the Kool-Aid.
But there's also other issues about especially Republicans trying to break through in Chicago, a very deep blue city in a deep blue state. Walz says that they just got to get that message out.
We're just not being afraid to come out and talk. If you have the truth, you don't have to be afraid. And you just can't be afraid of people trying to out-talk you, like, interrupting you and things. You just have to be patient and then just explain the facts. If people don't accept the facts, then you just have to move on. It's just kind of like the gospel. Christ said, if they don't accept what you're saying, dust your shoes off and push on. You know what I'm saying? And that's really what it is. They just have to come out. Also, someone high up in the state need to donate to campaigns like mine, that because we need the Democrat candidates have a lot of funding. If we had the funding, or at least 10% of their funding, we could do some advertisement and it would help get our name out, because a lot of people last year in 2022 I ran, and I was knocking on doors where they had already mailed in their ballot because they didn't know didn't know me. But I can only reach so many houses walking door to door. So if you that's the biggest thing, the biggest way that the Republican Party can help is donate to your the candidates running.
So again, Frederick Walls, he's a Republican running for the state house in the Chicago area. Now, yesterday I was able to talk with some Democratic delegates from across the country. One in particular, Daniel Hernandez, a former state representative and political actor in Arizona. He talked about, well, the excitement that they're seeing in this race.
I've only ever seen this kind of excitement once, and that was for Barack Obama. So it is not quite the same, because I actually think this is more excitement than even Obama had. Having been in Arizona when I started my, political career, it's incredible how much has changed in just the last few weeks. And I think the palpable sense of excitement that we're getting, not just from Democrats, but from Republicans and independents.
And he also talked how Arizona used to be a Republican state, but Biden won narrowly, and their Democratic governor won narrowly, and he sees that as a long march of progress in Arizona.
But in the last couple of years, because Democrats have been able to lay out a vision that's better for Arizonans, we've won the governorship, the Secretary of State's office, the Attorney General's office, and we had 2 Democratic senators. Now we have 1.5 Democratic senators because we have an independent senator in Senator Sinema. But Democrats have figured out the way that we win in Arizona, and I think the way that we win nationally, is not just by playing to Democrats, it's by talking to folks about the real problems and the solutions that we're able to offer. Meanwhile, we've seen in the Donald Trump camp and the MAGA camp that people focus on personalities and attacks. That's not how we win in Arizona. And people are sick and tired of that politics of, going after each other instead of actually talking about what we can do to improve people's lives. I think the other thing that's really important is economy right now is a critical thing in Arizona. I'm no longer a legislator, but I work in advocacy, and I talk to people all the time. Costs of groceries, cost of gas, they are exploding. And what is happening is Donald Trump goes and talks about how Kamala is crazy, her laugh is to this, goes after her and does personal attacks. Even when he's supposed to be talking about the economy, he pivots and talks about what he's comfortable with, which is personal attacks. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is laying out her vision for what we can do to improve the economy, to lower costs for housing, trying to restore the child tax credit, which will bring millions of kids out of poverty. So we're working on policies and solutions. Donald Trump is laying out an alternate vision, which is one that's focused on how big his crowd sizes are.
So again, hearing from Democrats from across the country, but another Republican who's running for the state house in Chicago, Terry Lee, I connected with him earlier this week as well, and he talked about how Republicans can attract others to see the Republican side of things.
You really have to go in and like talk to the people, the minorities, because I feel like there is a long grip of the Democrat rule on Chicago ever since the 1930s, and that's why our population is lower than it was in 1920s. So you really have to go out there and really go into the message, the policy. But the thing is, like, a lot of people, the curriculum, it really becomes like a deep-rooted kind of like brainwashed through like generations and generations. So it's really something that it's not going to happen overnight, but you have to go at it for like years and years to like make sure that it starts to resonate throughout. And Chicago is a very blue city, but if we could tilt the city a little bit to the right, we could like move the state into the right direction.
We'll see just how successful those efforts will be as we continue to monitor this all throughout here with Illinois in Focus Daily. And the Center Square, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It is the final day of the Democratic National Convention, and we, of course, are going to see the Vice President, Kamala Harris, accept the nomination with a keynote speech tonight, and then that's going to wrap things up as we head into the home stretch for the general election. But I think one thing that's going to be interesting as well is exactly how are the announcements coming from the RFK Jr. campaign going to impact this race if indeed he does decide to step out and, as is being reported, back the Republican in this. So we'll see if we can get some reaction from some of the Democratic leaders here on the ground as that's being reported. All right, have a wonderful day. We'll be back here tomorrow morning with Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell with America's Talking Network each and every weekday morning with the Center Square.